Well, welcome to this. Getting this set up on the tripod so that this conversation can be had without me having to hold my device. And I probably should have waited to go live after I was already up on the tripod. But I did not, so oh well. Here we are. We find ourselves getting set up on the tripod. And that's what's happening. So, greetings and salutations to all. Hold on, let me clean off this camera. Goddess, children, family. Nura in the house, the sunbeam, she self, about these parts. All right, trying to get it set up so we can get the best lighting. Hold on. Turn on this light and this light. And hopefully, okay, that looks like the best lighting to me. I'm gonna sit my ass on down because I don't want to be standing the whole time. That's the whole point in putting it on the tripod. So let me, should I do that? Yeah, I guess we're gonna do that. All right. We are going live today because I am living in the reality of an epiphany that I want to share with my audiences. And I posted about it just a few minutes ago. Y'all know I'm going to be adjusting this fro, so it is what it is, right? Because this is kind of low-key a mirror and, ooh, loving it. But y'all know these cats are going to be in the background. I hope they quiet today. But, you know, who knows? They just living their life. But we're going live today. Don't be scratching up my wall. Because, okay, I think they just getting ready to fight, which is their business. Because, thank you, mama. I got to talk about something. I ain't finna tap dance. That's the topic of this live. I just ain't finna tap dance. Okay? Thank y'all. I be trying. Y'all make an old girl feel good. I ain't gonna tap dance, right? So let me explain what I mean. Cats are fighting in the background. How they gonna be such a distraction? Let's try to not have them in the video so people can listen to me. You know? So let's take it back. Let's take it back. Let's take it back so we can bring it forward. In my great grandmother's lifetime. Now, my great grandmother didn't tap dance, don't get me wrong. But she was told, well, she was made to believe that she had to tap dance because she wasn't allowed to have a bank account in her name. She wasn't allowed to buy property in her name. She wasn't allowed to sometimes maintain custody of her children. In my great grandmother's lifetime, she had to tap dance for a man's time, attention, resources, connection, and affection in order to navigate the world. Now, my great grandmother was a property owner. My great grandmother did send my grandmother to college. My great grandmother was married several times, right? My great grandmother made great financial and social strides within the Black community of Columbia, Tennessee. All praises Ibara Turun. However, she still, because of how society was in those times, had to tap dance to keep a man's time, attention, and affection in order to navigate the life that she wanted to live and the life that she wanted to give my grandmother, right? My grandmother then still was living in a time where she couldn't own property. She couldn't get a bank account in her name. She was not allowed to be the head of a household, right? My grandmother was born into a time like that. And so she had to tap dance for a man's time and attention and affection and resources because in certain ways she could not navigate those things for herself without a man, right? And so she had to tap dance, right, in order to obtain those things. Now, because my great grandmother had acquired property and status and all of these things, largely on her own, but on paper as the wife or the widow or the divorcee of a man, my grandmother then had a certain level of privilege because she had property, she had social standing, she had status within the Black community, right? In my small hometown. Now, let's move forward to my mother. So my mother was born into a time where at the beginning of her life, my mother was born in 1934, all praises Ibarra Tarun. At the beginning of her life, she was still living in a time where she had to tap dance for a man's affection for those reasons. And when we tap dance, what does that mean? That means we have to look a certain way, whether we want to or not. That means we have to talk a certain way, whether we want to or not. That means we have to conduct ourselves in a certain way, whether we want to or not, in order for a man to find us not even worthy, but in order for a man to approve of us and therefore be willing to share his manly resources with us, right? Whether they're sexual resources, financial resources, emotional resources, spiritual resources, we have to hold ourselves and put ourselves in a certain box to be eligible for those things. So that's what I mean when I say tap dance, right? So my mother was born into that time, but stop. But all praises, and my mother taught her daughters, what a glory it was. Stop. To have matured into a time where she no longer had to do that, right? So by the time I was born, I was my mother's sixth child. In 1969, my mother was able to own property. My mother was able to have a checking account. My mother was able to have a job. My mother was able to be the head of the household. So she no longer had to do that tap dance, and she put into us how wonderful it was not to have to do that, right? She taught us that. And she herself celebrated that. I grew up as a child with my mother and grandmother loudly playing the song, "I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar." This is a so-called feminist song that came out when I was a child. Look it up, listen to it. It's interesting, right? And so I grew up in it, and they would dance, and they were oh so happy to be living in a time that did not require them to kowtow to a man to get their basic needs met and our basic needs as their children met, right? So then I'm born, 1969, grew up in the 70s, matured in the 80s and early 90s. We couldn't even conceive of a time when I wasn't allowed to have my own checking account. Probably got my own checking account when I was 18 or 19. Couldn't conceive of a time where I wasn't allowed to have a job and be the head of my household and, not have to have children that I didn't want to have, and all of those things that our grandmothers and mothers fought for during those times that they celebrated that were right before I became a woman. However, particularly in the Black community, I was still raised to tap dance for a man. Because even though I did not need him to own property, to have a checking account, to provide for myself and my children, to do that, I still needed a man by my side to be considered successful, to be considered wife material, to be considered marriageable. So the script flipped on us, right? Because it was no longer necessary financially and as far as resources were concerned, then it became necessary to prove your worthiness as a woman in the community. Proving our worthiness as women is at the center and the root of so many things that we do as Black women in the global North. That's the Western world. That is the correct and accurate term for the Western world, is the global North. So when I say global North, United States, Europe, Caribbean, all of these places that have been created by horrible exploitation and colonialism, right? This shit is all the global North. So as Black women in the global North, we have always been forced to prove our worthiness as women, because womanhood is defined according to its white adjacency. Amen, lights? Y'all don't hear me though. Womanhood is defined in the black community according to its white adjacency. Because womanhood lays upon a foundation of desirability, right? You are more of a woman or more of a worthy woman the more that men consider you sexually desirable. And sexual desirability in the black community is based upon your white adjacency. What do I mean when I say white adjacency? Your closeness to whiteness. That's what it's based upon. The lighter you are, the more sexually desirable you are. You hear me? White adjacency. The straighter your hair is, the more sexually desirable you are. White adjacency. You got to have this particular type of figure that black women's bodies don't necessarily grow into. Now, I know, black men love the ass or whatever like that. I'm not taking that out of there. But think about the figure in general. Our bodies don't grow into that. We might look like that when we 13. But by the time we 18, 19, 20, it's a different type of body type that our bodies grow into, which is beautiful, which is luscious, which is luxurious. However, the body type that is supposed to be desired is closer to white adjacency. Do you see what I'm saying? So desirability and womanhood in the black community is based upon white adjacency. And one thing that we can never be, I don't care how much we bleach our skin or chemically do things to our hair or do all those, we ain't gonna never be a white girl. We ain't gonna never be a white girl. So trying to attain the highest level of womanhood is a carrot that they can always dangle in front of us because womanhood is still defined by whiteness. Femininity is still defined by whiteness. So as long as there is something that we can never reach, they can define it in any way that they want to, and we gonna have to scramble after it to prove our worth. So black women sit in a state of constantly having to prove our feminine or womanly worth because feminine and womanly worth is white. And we ain't gonna never be that, right? So then you get my age. In my age, the tap dance is to prove that you are marriageable. You ain't gotta get married. But does a man want to marry you? The reason you ain't married is because don't nobody want you. Ain't that what we hearing? Ain't that what we're hearing? Many of us are single. I dare say, living in a family of women, being born in a family of women, having given birth to a family of women, lived in a dorm full of women, preside over an elay full of women. I dare say, because I'm counseling all these women all the time, that most of us are single because we do not want to do a goddamn tap dance. And so we out here happily single, doing our thing, having a good time. And somebody comes in and shames us and says, the real reason that you single is because don't nobody want you. The real reason that you single is because you a 6 at best. The real reason that you single is because you done had them kids. The real reason that you single is because you divorced. Somebody comes in and says that. And they know that they can say it to us and it's going to cut us because we are always navigating our womanliness according to white adjacency, which we can never be. We can never be white. So anything that you say to us about our womanhood, it cuts us deep because somewhere in our psyche, we can't reach womanhood because womanhood is equated to whiteness. Y'all don't hear me though? Y'all don't hear me though. You see what I'm saying? So that's why they throw that shit out at you. When in actuality, you single because the fuck you want to be single, right? I done had 2 husbands and I done had 4 fiancés. And the reason ain't none of them motherfuckers in my house today is because I put their ass out. It's because I broke up with their ass. It's because I did not want to be with their ass. If I wanted to be married, I could be married. But I don't want to be. And the reason I don't want to be is because I refuse to motherfucking tap dance. So, what has happened in these modern times to our modern girls, to the girls that are younger than us, right? Let's speak to the young girls at this point in time. Is that it is good and well known. You ain't got to have a man to get you a checking account and get you a car and get you a house. You ain't got to have a man to get you a nice checking account. Right? Full checking account, fat money, long paper. You ain't got to have a man to do that. You ain't got to have a man to get you a nice house. You ain't got to have a man to get you a nice car. You ain't got to have a man to travel the goddamn globe. Right? You ain't got to have a man to put all them marks on your passport. You don't have to have a man to do that anymore. Right? And so they can't throw that at us. You need a man to do those things. Also, those of you who are my children's age, in your 30s and lower, right? Y'all don't even feel like y'all got to have a man to validate your existence. Oh, baby, I'm still just as much of a woman whether or not I have a man living in my household, right? We were your mothers, so you watched us. And you did not internalize having a man to validate your existence and having a man to be the prize that said you were worthy. You didn't internalize that because we were busy teaching you that that was not necessary, right? We were your mothers. These are my 30s and below, right? That's the age of my children, my baby girls, right? So now they done threw a new thing out there. And this is what they calling it to try to lure us in. Soft life. We're going to put a new title on it, and they going to fall for it. And you know why they calling it soft life? Because life is motherfucking hard. Because life in a motherfucking capitalist, life under white masculinist imperialism is hard. And it's hard on purpose. Life ain't actually hard. Life ain't actually hard. The gag is. Okay, go to the Caribbean, please. I beg of thee. Go. Go to the Caribbean, live in you a beautiful little chattel house. Chattel house is a wooden house. Beautiful, magnificent. And eat the food that grows there. And I promise you that life is not hard, right? And I'm speaking in general. Don't come for me in the comment section. Life does not have to be hard. But capitalism makes life hard. White masculinist imperialism creates a hard life because that keeps us in a rat race. So they throwing at you, black woman, soft life. Soft life. And what are they claiming that soft life is? Are they saying it is a stress-free life? Are they saying it is a life with less anxiety? Are they saying it is a minimalist life where you don't try to buy a whole bunch of shit and fuck your credit up and spend all your money? What is soft life? How is soft life being defined? How is it being defined? Right? Because I hear people saying, if you really pay all of your bills, how are you living soft life? I hear people saying, if you're the one that's meeting all of your needs, how are you living soft life? Right? So soft life is a sneaky beaky way of saying tap dance for a man. Right? I'm Pikachuing over that shit. What? Oh, they done pulled the wool over my eyes with that shit. Tap dance for a man. So, unlike our great-grandmothers, who didn't have a choice because they couldn't get a checking account or a house or the things that they needed. Unlike our mothers, who didn't have a choice because at the beginning of their lives, they couldn't get none of that stuff, right? Unlike me, y'all's mother, who felt like she didn't have a choice because she wanted to be seen as a good woman and as a marriageable woman and as a desirable woman. Unlike that, what they saying now is, it's okay to tap dance just like your great-grandmother as long as the man is rich. If he a billionaire, girl, tap dance your ass off. Tap dance just like your great-grandmama did. And when I say just like your great-grandmama did, my great-grandmama didn't have no choice but to watch a man cheat. My great-grandmama didn't have no choice but to have a man who had 34 families all over town. My great-grandmother didn't have no choice but for a man to be having babies on her because she couldn't get a goddamn checking account in her name. So what they're telling us is that in order for our life to be soft, We still got to do that same tap dance. We just got to do it for a rich man, right? Same tap dance though. Tap dance ain't changed, right? And that supposedly is what makes your life soft. Well, let me speak from experience. Let me talk from somebody who has been there and done that, right? In my second marriage, I was a stay-at-home wife and mother. I homeschooled my children, some of them all the way up into college. We ate magnificent vegan meals. Second husband was a chef. He'd cook his ass off and taught the kids how to be able to cook. Magnificent vegan meals straight out of Queen Afua's Sacred Woman recipes. I'm not elaborating. I'm telling you exactly what we were doing, right? I sewed the clothes myself, the beautiful African clothes on my sewing machine at the kitchen table while I was homeschooling the children. I had the babies at home, pushed them out of my body at home and put them directly to breast and breastfed them and skin-to-skin contact and all that kind of stuff. When I decided I didn't want to have babies, I learned how to track my ovulation and my cervical mucus so that I could have a pause and a break between having babies. This is the life that I was living. I worked part-time from time to time when we needed a new car. Well, we had a car, but we needed a van because, more babies were being born. And so I then took a little part-time job so that we could get us a van, a big old, minivan to fit all them children in, right? And, I work part-time. We're going to go to Africa. Okay, let me work a little bit, to make some money so we can go to Africa, right? So I worked from time to time. This is what I was doing. Let me lean in and tell you the truth. That motherfucking life was not soft. Right? Even if I had not been having children, even if I had had a chef, even if I had had a cleaning lady, even if I had had my own tailor, that life was not soft. Do you know why? Because I lived in fear of a motherfucker pulling the rug out from under me anytime he chose to. Do you know why? Because men are not socialized to prioritize the needs of their wife and children. Men are socialized to prioritize their own goddamn needs. And so at any moment, I knew, even though he did not speak it out loud, he let me know in his actions. He didn't speak it out loud, but he let me know in how he moved through the world that at any moment he could choose a younger, more fertile version of me. Well, maybe not more fertile because a bitch is, pretty fertile. But you know what I'm saying. He could choose a younger version of me at any moment. At any moment, he could decide he wasn't going to pay a bill. He could just decide. You may have heard the story of the time that he bought martial arts armor instead of paying our electric bill. You may have heard the story if you've been following me for a while. And I sat in the cold in Nashville, Tennessee, nursing his child in the cold because he bought martial arts armor instead of paying the electric bill. Now, me being who I am, don't get me twisted, I did call and cuss him out, and he did figure that out within a couple of hours. Maybe, 2 or 3 hours he figured out how to get the money to get the electric bill paid because, I'm not that one to play with. However, the fact that he had the right to do that never left my mind. I knew it before he did it, but I lived it also. So no matter what I was experiencing, no matter the reality that I was not going to clock in at somebody's job, no matter the reality that I did not have to be subject to the corporate world, no matter that reality, baby, listen to Auntie when she says that life was not soft. Listen to me when I say that life was riddled with anxiety and depression and fear, because I did not know. I could not be secure in the reality that he was going to continue to take care of us. I had to tap dance, right? He liked his women to dress a certain way. My ass had to dress that way. The fuck? I look like not dressing that way, but still expecting to have access to his resources. That wasn't finna happen. He liked his woman not to curse. I didn't curse. But all them years we was together, did not curse. I know y'all find that hard to believe because y'all met me after that. Didn't curse. He wanted the house decorated in a certain way. I had never in my life lived in a house that wasn't decorated by the woman whose house it was, whether she was married or not married, right? But he wanted the house decorated in a certain way, took off from work to come and tell me what kind of material I was going to buy for the drapes because he didn't like the other materials that I had been picking out, right? So the house had to be decorated like that. He paid for the house. What I look like having an opinion on some stuff that I didn't pay for, right? He wanted to eat a certain type of food. That certain type of food had to be there. Do you feel what I'm saying? That life was not soft. I didn't have to go to work, but that life was still not soft. Do you hear me? All right, fast forward. Fast forward to today. And you can say whatever, people can say whatever they want to say. I'm not talking about the comments. I'm talking about real deal reality. Say whatever you want to say, but if you haven't lived it, then I'm not taking your opinion seriously. I was a homeschooling mother. I was a stay-at-home mom. So all of the groups of women that were my close friend and who continue to be my close friends were homeschooling mothers and stay-at-home moms. And all of these women were going through this same type of oppression, right? So I might, tell you a joke, but I ain't going to tell you a lie, right? And I ain't going to tell you what I think. I'm going to tell you what the fuck I know. And I know it because I lived it. And I know it because my sisters, my close sister friends, so close that sometimes we nursed each other's babies. They were living it too. So that life that was anything but soft. And I thought I was having a nervous breakdown. And I didn't eat. I rarely ate, right? And my hair was unhealthy. And my body was unhealthy. And my skin was unhealthy. And my inside was dying. That life is not soft. Please do not be seduced back into the tap dance. That tap dance gonna kill you. That tap dance gonna take you right on out the game. Right on out the motherfucking game. Hear me. Now, am I saying be out here doing everything for yourself, and then when you meet a dude or you meet, whatever type of partner that you desire in your life. Now, and we got to apply this to all mask people. M-A-S-C, mask. I'm applying this to all mask people because I got close friends and children who are non-binary. And this applies for all mask people, right? And I know it because they have told me. So I'm not saying when you meet a partner that you then don't require anything of them financially because you take care of everything yourself. That's not what I'm saying, because that's not fair, because they still make more money than us, right? And they still have access to more resources than us. So I'm still going to require that you give me access to them goddamn resources, because you got that. You're going to have to come up off of them resources. You're going to have to come up off of some money. And yes, you're going to have to come up off some debt, right? Because you got all that right there to give. You have to come up off of that if you want to be over here. So I'm not saying that sit in a place where you then don't ask for what you know that you deserve. That's not what I'm saying. Nor am I saying don't be a stay-at-home mom, don't be a stay-at-home wife, I'm not saying that either. What I'm saying is your life is soft when you have a commitment to making it soft. And you can only commit to making your life soft when you are the head of your life. Right? Because right now, I am a PhD student. I run an ELA. I run my own business. And I teach literature. A bitch got 4 jobs. Woo! Did I live in the Caribbean too long? The hell? Bitch got 4 jobs, right? But this is the softest life I've ever lived. Life is soft as hell. Life is soft as hell. I'm at ease. I'm at peace. I ain't never got to worry about no rug being pulled out from under me unless I'm pulling it out from under my own self. I ain't never got to worry about a younger, more fertile version of me taking shit from me, because all this shit is mine. I ain't got to tap dance for shit. If I meet a man and I like the man and he like me, he gonna have to like this right here, pure, point blank, period, full stop. And that's that on that. I ain't changing the hair. I ain't changing the clothes. I ain't gonna wax Miss Kitty unless I feel like waxing Miss Kitty. I ain't finna lose no weight, gain no weight, eat this, don't eat that. I'm not doing none of that unless that's what I feel like doing. Now, when I feel like doing it, I'm gonna do all of that, right? And he gonna have to fund it if he wanna be here, right? I ain't saying don't get the funds. It's not what I'm saying, because they have more resources than us. And the way that you show that you care about somebody is sharing your resources with them. So don't get it twisted. Don't get it misunderstood. Don't be out here getting used and disenfranchised. But be the center of your life. You are responsible and you are the most qualified to make your life soft. This is the softest life I done ever lived, and it's the life of my dreams. I'm in my dream location. I drive my motherfucking dream car, the car that I wrote down in my memory book when I graduated from high school. That's the car I drive. This is the place I've always wanted to live. This is the job I've always wanted to have, always wanted to teach literature. And this is the softest life that I have ever lived. Do not tap dance. You do not have to work to prove yourself deserving of love. You do not have to work. You do not have to work to prove yourself desirable. If a motherfucker don't desire you, send him on his way. Because there's thousands of motherfuckers who do. Right? You do not have to work to prove yourself worthy of resources. If somebody is interested in you, they will voluntarily share their resources with you. That's what it means to care about somebody and have more resources than them. Right? You do not have to work to prove that you are marriageable. You are marriageable, right? I'm putting a stamp on it. You are marriageable. Stamp said it. Auntie has proven it. Oshun priestess, 53-year-old black woman, married 2 times, former stay-at-home mom. Whichever one of my titles you want to throw on there. You're marriageable. Don't be around here wondering about that. You do not have to work to prove that you are desirable. You are infinitely desirable. You are the seat of desirability. You do not have to work to prove that you are in your feminine. The fuck that shit mean? I hate that shit in my soul. That's a trick. That's a trick of the enemy. If you are living in a feminine body and that is how you identify, then you're feminine. That's it. You ain't got to talk a certain way, walk a certain way, wear your hair a certain way, wear certain kind of clothes. All of that right there, that isn't anything but misogyny. That's all that is. That's misogyny that says, well, you would be feminine, but you don't never wear pink. Well, you would be feminine, but you weigh more than 50 pounds. Well, you would be feminine, but you don't look like a 13-year-old girl. Well, you would be feminine, but you have too many opinions and think too highly of yourself. That's misogyny. You don't have to work to prove that you are feminine. If you live in a feminine body and that is how you identify, then you feminine. You in your feminine because you live in the motherfucking feminine. Jesus, it makes me so mad. Don't tap dance. And anybody that requires or who even smacks gently up against the thought that you might have to tap dance, cuss that motherfucker out and send them on their non-merry way. Right? Nobody gets to make you tap dance. Do you want me to tell you why? Because we've been tap dancing since we got out this motherfucker. We've been tap dancing since the first grandmother landed on this soil. And you mean to tell me that 500 motherfucking years later, you still think I'm about to tap dance? You got me fucked up, right? I ain't got to tap dance for nobody. My grandmother's been tap dancing since we stepped foot on this bitch. Which the fuck, and my indigenous grandmothers was tap dancing from the time y'all's raggedy ass got off in this bitch. And you mean to tell me that you believe that centuries later that you can dangle something in front of me and I'm gonna tap dance? Oh, you are mistaken. You are mistaken. I ain't got tap dance for shit. My great grandmothers and the owners of this land paid it all. Everything I want and need, I am entitled to. Because my mother's tap danced and sacrificed and worked hard for this shit. Do you hear what I'm saying? Don't tap dance for nobody. For nothing. Anytime somebody make you think you gotta step and fetch it and kowtow, remove yourself from that situation. Do you hear me? Don't fall for the okie doke. Whenever it sound like, it appears that this motherfucker expects me to tap dance. Believe your ears and walk on away. Do not participate in that. All right? I'm the mother. Mother's telling you. Auntie is telling you. The Eolosha is telling you. Do not do that. Right? It's time out for that shit. We declared a moratorium on that shit centuries ago. That shit is over. You ain't getting not one more tap out of me. Right? Don't let nobody trick you into that shit. All right. That was my good word for today. I had to get it out. It welled up within my soul. I'm looking, I'm watching, and I'm seeing. And babies are trying to get ease. What they want is ease for themselves. And we deserve ease. We have earned ease. And ease is our birthright. And so that's what we're trying to get to. And I'm here to tell you that you can cultivate that for yourself without tap dancing for a motherfucking thing. All right. I love you. Grateful for your presence. Grateful for your support. Grateful for your continued ear. Okay, please share. Y'all know the drill. Like, subscribe, share, all that. Do all that, right? Okay. Ecstasy, abundance, and bliss. To all of those within the sound of my voice who are wishing the same for me and mine. And as always, we wish the lessons of life on those who are ignorant enough to wish us otherwise. All right, enjoy your day.